What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got to talk about Jack Sparrow and Pirates of the Caribbean 6 yet again. It keeps getting better and better, and I want to keep my fingers crossed. I want to not jinx things. We got to kind of dance around it, but I want to feel good. I want to allow myself, to feel good about the possibility, because it does feel like it's only a matter of time. And what an adventure it has been. Not filled with highs, by the way. A lot of lows over the last freaking however long. We'll probably do some sort of special thing, hopefully, when it's announced that Johnny Depp is coming back. But there's a new interview from Jerry Bruckheimer. This is the only way humanly possible to get info from Pirates of the Caribbean from the world, is to just talk to him, which I guess is fair enough, right? And look, we've heard so many times, back, forth, but this kind of glimmer of hope, right? This idea that, hey, he could be in it. We might have ridden him into it, and, we just kind of have to see how it goes, yada, yada, yada. Well, now it sounds like, and this is interesting because I go to Entertainment Weekly. They're the ones who did the article. They talk about that Johnny Depp is interested in returning, and it's tough sometimes to know when they're talking to Jerry Bruckheimer, what did he say before they recorded or before they typed their thing? Because it very much sounds like that Johnny Depp and Jerry Bruckheimer literally talk to each other. That is the way the press outlets are speaking, is that those two had a direct conversation. Now maybe that's just they're inferring that. They just feel okay, based off what Jerry Bruckheimer said, these two had to have had a conversation. But I don't know, just some interesting language of Johnny Depp's interest in returning. Did he say that? Because the exact line technically doesn't say it. It's optimism for sure. It's hope, but it's not hey, I talked to Johnny yesterday and he's 98% in. We just kind of have to figure this out. That's not what he said. So I don't know. I just get confused about that. They say Johnny Depp is interested in returning to the high seas. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, producer Jerry Bruckheimer reveals that he's had conversations with Depp about reprising his role as Captain Jack Sparrow in a 6 Pirates of the Caribbean film. Now, again, that quote's not going to come up. That's just an added thing. That's cool, and it's it's something that I would like them to have said. So I guess I'm happy with it. But it's not straight from his mouth. So take it for what it is. However, they say now the producer tells EW that Depp is open to the possibility of reprising his iconic role. If he likes the way the part's written, I think he would do it. It's all about what's on the page, as we all know. And so look, to me, the most important, word for word that Jerry Bruckheimer actually said is, I think he would do it. Now, again, I do think there's some implication there. I think that implies that he has talked to him and he said, hey, and I guess the reason why this gets me excited is this really bridges all of that kind of mysterious will they won't they stuff, right? Because literally up until this point, depending on how you read things, it's always kind of been a 50-50 on if he's even in the script. They're very vague. It did sound like it. I've made videos kind of every couple months, kind of saying, okay, can we read into these 7 words that Jerry Bruckheimer said any closer? I mean, honestly though, when I've done that, and if you've watched those videos, it has seemed over the last year that it's gone to a positive direction. And to be quite honest with you, I almost wonder, I mean, we know things stopped 2023, things kind of got messed up with the script and stuff. I just wonder, as time has gone on, was there a point where they kind of went back and said, look, he's in it for 2 minutes or he's not even in it at all. We really think we can make him a part of this. Maybe not the only part, the major part, but we can really put him back in a meaningful way. I almost feel something kind of, not just with how long it's taken, because that kind of shows it as well, right? It's taken so long that you feel there has to have been some shift in mindset behind the scenes, but then also literally in how they've spoken and just how it's felt. Really feels okay, at some point something turned and it's okay, now all of a sudden maybe he's in it more than he was 5 months ago or a year ago or 2 years ago. And then even the comments, what we've gotten recently, Orlando Bloom saying he wanted to get the band back together. It just feels we're really moving in the right direction. And again, specifically the quotes we have today from him, it's again, the implication is that he talked to him. The idea is, hey, would you be interested in coming back? And Johnny Depp seemingly says back to him, it's all about how I'm written. And I will say this, is, whenever I make these videos, you always have the people and I can respect this because we kind of all went through this together, watching the trial and all that stuff. I think there's a mindset of people that if he comes back, Johnny Depp, that speaks less to his character, and, like all of those words kind of meant nothing. And people honestly hoping that he doesn't come back to kind of stick it to Disney. And honestly, I think a lot of that stuff is respectful. I think people say that with like meaning. I don't think people are just saying it to say. I don't think they're being nasty when they say it. But I will say this is probably the best middle ground, And as I've always said, like, look, if they've apologized, they've apologized. Like, it's up to him how he wants to handle, his future. He's getting older. Maybe forgiveness is something that he'll tolerate more now when he wouldn't really accept it a couple. I mean, I don't want to get all like life, like coaching lessons, but time heals all wounds. And I don't know if I personally like 1,000% believe that, but it probably is true that he would feel differently now than he did literally in the middle of the trial. We heard him in the trial. We heard how hurt he was and betrayed he was by Disney amongst many, many other people. But, obviously Disney being one of them, can time fix that? Time can fix it. Him getting older can fix it. Him kind of having time to get away from things can fix it. And then also maybe they offered money. And I mean, I'm not saying like money is everything. Maybe they sincerely apologize. And I hope that they did, right? Maybe they did say, hey, okay, hey, we're going to offer you an apology. We're going to give you some money. We're not cutting things. And then also, again, the better part of all of this in terms of the character, because here's the thing. We've said this 1,000 times, but this is more on like Johnny Depp as a person. I don't want Jack Sparrow returning for 5 minutes and like a failure of a send-off for this guy, right? Just a quick cameo that has no purpose. Or, by the way, just bringing him back to kind of, whether it's like to mock him or he's like a laughingstock. Like, look, people do kind of laugh at him in some of these movies, depending on what, like, he can be looked at in certain ways in the lore. And I'm not saying like that's a negative, but, there's a way of treating that character with respect, and there's a way of just milking it in the sense that he comes back just to say he's back, and then they do nothing meaningful with him. It needs to mean something. 5 really was that in the opposite way. Like, he was in it a good amount, but it wasn't right. That character of Jack Sparrow was easily at his weakest in 5 by miles in any of these other movies. He was in 5. So if you're going to bring him back in 6, you got to do it right. And it makes me, I think, happy. I mean, look, it's probably a cliche Hollywood thing. Like, it even kind of says it, like, don't we all say this? Like, if it's written well, he'll come back. Sometimes money, that extra like 5-10 million can probably make you overlook some character flaws in the script. But I do hope he stays true to that. The idea that, hey, I want your apology. I want money. Think he deserves both of those things, by the way. And then also, like, don't bring me back to just like, make a joke of this. Like, actually do something meaningful with Jack Sparrow. I want that. I think the fandom wants that, and it seems he wants that, which is probably the most important, because if he comes back, you hope that means that they've done it justice, right? I mean, we've had, again, both situations. We've had people return and say, man, I was really moved by the script, and the movie sucks. Like, what script were they reading, right? But that's all, and it was probably the money element, but at least they said it, right? And then we've also had people that said, hey, I'm not doing this unless there's a really good script, and it was a really good script, right? So it can really go in either direction, but both directions probably do lead to him coming back, which is very exciting. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.